So what we saw last week was verse 5. Verse 5 is Sarvamangala Mangalyam Sarvapapa Pranashanam Chinta Ashoka Prashamanam Ayuhu Vardhanam Uttamam. We saw till here. Now from verse 6 onwards is where the actual namas begin. See, you see here, Rashmimate Namaha, Samudyate Namaha. So this is where the namas begin. So the verse itself, there is a meaning. Rashmimantam Samudyantam Deva Suranamaskrutam Pujayasva Vivaswantam Bhaskaram Bhuvaneshwaram. That is the verse. So the verse will have a meaning, right? And then we will have meaning for each of the nama. Rashmimate Namaha, Om Samudyate Namaha, Om Devasura Namaskrutaya Namaha, Om Vivaswate Namaha. So, as I told earlier, different commentators have it's somewhere between 108 to 125, 123 namas. So some commentators have tried to fit it into 108. Some commentators have made it like 125, 20 or something. But we can go with 108 because it's nice for a Ashtotra Archana. So it nicely fits, 108 fits in. So I've tried to use the 108 from that. So what they'll do is some words will not be, like for example, Puja Yasva. Puja Yasva is not an attribute of Bhagavan. It's not an attribute of Surya Bhagavan. It is an action saying that may you worship. Puja Yasva. Right? So some of these words are not actionable or are not attributes, are not adjectives, are not describing Surya Bhagavan, but they are, So the namas are distributed like that. And I've not seen many people do Archana with Āditya Hṛdayam namas. Generally, Āditya Hṛdayam is only chanted as a shloka, right? Most of the places. But it's nice to know this so that if at some point, and again, Kalpaka pointed out to a document in sanskritdocuments.org, which has the full kriya of how to do Aditya Upasana, a Surya Upasana. So starting with the Nyasam, the Mula Mantram, then the Dhyanam, all of that. So you do all of that, then you do the Āditya Hṛdayam shloka. Usually when you do like an Upasana, you do that. But we are usually taught only the Āditya Hṛdayam mantra, right? So this is good enough. We don't necessarily need to do the whole 9 yards. It can get a little complicated. The second thing is, if at all we want to do some kind of upasana using Āditya Hṛdaya, or the Surya Bhagavan, it will be nice to do as a namavali. Sometimes we may feel if you actually chant this whole thing, it only takes about 6 to 8 minutes. Depending on whatever speed we chant, between 6 to 8 minutes. And if you want to spend more time, it will be good to do it like a namavali. And that will possibly, you can spend a little more time. And what we'll do is when we go through the meanings, we'll try to understand the meanings of each nama. We'll see many repetition. Okay. Now, repetition is done in many shlokas. The only shloka which is, or the stotram, Lalita Sahasranam has this claim that there is no repetition. Most of the other stotrams have repetition in them, right? So this repetition I see it for two reasons. One is that the nama itself is slightly, the different word is used probably to explain the same meaning or a slightly different shade of that meaning. Right? See, I say your Karuna Murti, I say your Daya Murti. Basically, it means the same. But there are reasons why I would use Karuna. Maybe to fit it into Chandas, or maybe there is a little difference between Karuna and Daya. Right? You can possibly have Karuna, but you may just these two words I'm saying. If you take Daya and Karuna as two different words, Daya, you can have sympathy, but Karuna is a little more refined in terms of it can be termed as empathy versus sympathy in simple terms. Maybe you can look at it that way, right? But the other way also to look at is your Daya can also cause a little weakness within you, but Karuna is always the strength of the heart. Compassion is the strength of the heart. Some of these minor differences that may be seen in the way it's used, right? So in that sense, in the Silanamazala, if you see, you will see some of these differences. The same meaning may appear. Because if you look at the 12 names of the Āditya, they pretty much mean the same. But then minor differences, there will be there in the way they are. What is the aspect of Surya Bhagavan that you're trying to highlight? That is one. Even if it means exactly the same also, if it is a synonym, it's an absolute synonym, it is the way in which the Rishi is wanting to reinforce that aspect. So it is like of the 108 namas, in 50th nama, he has said something about Surya Bhagavan. In the 66th nama, he is repeating Apdina. Maybe he's wanting to re-emphasize. The same thing is repeating in the 73rd namana. Maybe he's re-emphasizing that aspect of Surya Bhagavan. Right? Because I see these commentaries of these works, the meaning is repeated. Many places you will see the same, to a large extent, the meaning will appear repeated. And they will make a reference. The commentator himself will make a reference that this meaning is the same as that nama's meaning. Right? Because there's not much to elaborate there. Right? So what we will do is we'll go through these. And as we go through this, we may find some repeats, but we may also look at it. We can, and as I've always told, in Samskrita, there are three kinds of meanings you can take for every word. Vachyartha, Vyutpatti Artha, and Lakshyartha or Bhavartha, which means Vachyartha is the word meaning from the dictionary. Vyutpatti Artha is the etymological meaning. I can go to the root of that word, the dhatu of that word, see what the dhatu possibly can mean, and then apply that meaning to this word or the shabda. The third is Lakshyartha, which means intended meaning. What are you trying to communicate through this word? So, which means you can keep doing this with words. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said, you can pretty much interpret everything and bring it to Vedanta. If you want to, right? If your head is always on that, whatever you see will appear like Vedanta. So I was telling, even J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings will appear as Vedanta. if you have the right ways to see things, and something is said, you can say, oh, this is what it means. And you can always apply the philosophies that you are focused on, or the way you perceive things can always be fit into anything that you have in terms of scriptures or literature or works or whatever, right? if Shakespeare says all the world is a stage and we are mere actors, if he says that, we don't know from what point of view he's saying, but we can always say, oh, this is Vedanta. This world is like a Nataka Bhumi, and we are only playing roles because we are the true self, and we only take on forms to act different roles. So you can always do that. Many of these profound sounding statements can always be brought back to Atma Vichara. So in the same way, this literature also that way, of course, Āditya Hṛdayam is Brahma Vidya that way. It is being described as Brahma Vidya and offered to Rama as Brahma Vidya. So when we go through these meanings also, some of these meanings, let us keep that in mind as a reminder, as a pointer to that. Like Dattatreya says, he had 24 gurus. He'll say, what do you mean? We have always been told we should have one guru, or we should be devoted to one guru. He had 24 gurus, which means everywhere he went, whatever he saw, and who were those gurus? The sun was the guru, water was guru, fire was guru, the spider was guru, eagle was guru, fish was guru. Whatever he saw, things around him, he took it as guru, which means when you are seeking, you will find it. If you are seeking, you will find. Whatever you seek, when you are looking to understand the nature of reality, if you are wanting to go deeper into this nature of reality, when you fill yourself with that kind of an idea, or you fill yourself with that kind of an intention, you will see answers everywhere. You will see answers everywhere. Suddenly somebody says, you will say, he will say something and say, oh, such a beautiful thing you said. Because you're resonating within you to seek the truth. When that is there, this will happen. So in the same way, as we go through Āditya Hṛdayam Namas, we will try to go through as, we don't have to spend a lot of time on every Nama, right? Wherever there is a strong impulse to kind of spend a little time, we'll spend time. But otherwise, we can go through the Namas to understand how the Nama is structured and what the Nama means, right? So, Rashmi Mantam Samudyantam Devasura Namaskritam Pujayasva Vibhaswantam Bhaskaram Bhuvaneshwaram. So this is where till the fifth Nama you see, he is talking about in a way the greatness of the Surya Bhagavan. But right from here, he is actually starting to, Agastya Maharshi is starting to give specific instructions on how is Surya Bhagavan, what are his gunas, what are his this thing, the specific things that Surya Bhagavan is important and significant to us for, right? Although, see, look at it, the Ikshvaku dynasty from which Rama was there, what is was it Surya Vamsham? So it is a Surya Vamsham. So which means the one Vamsha already has the grace of the sun god. And see, look at this. He is born in the Surya Vansha, and he is a noble king, and he prays to Surya Bhagavan every day because it's part of his. He is a Kuladeva. See, if you're saying you're Surya Vanshi, means your Kuladeva is Surya Bhagavan. You're doing this on a daily basis, yet Agastya is now coming and telling him the same thing. Rama can tell Agastya, right? I know more about Surya than you. I am Surya Vanshi. I know more than you. So a lot of times, Mama Chonna Madri, exactly like Mama said, it is, and that humility is required for a seeker. If some lesson is coming in some form, we receive it. Because we may know it, but we may not have absorbed it. We may know it, but it would have gone into the background. we may know it, but we wouldn't have known to apply it. Correct? Which is why a lot of times it's always said that advice is easy to be given than to be followed. Because it's so comfortable because you're not in that situation. So Rama, look at it, being Suryavanshi, he is now listening to the glories of Surya Bhagavan from Agastya Maharshi. Despite the fact that it's his Kuladeva and he knows about Surya Bhagavan. So now Agastya is not telling him any new information. Although he's telling Shrunuguhyam Sanatanam Yena Sarvanarin Vatsa Samare Vijayshisi. He's telling him, I'm telling you the eternal truth. Which means he is not telling him about actually Surya Bhagavan. He is talking about the self-effulgence. He is giving him those who know Vasishta Yoga, Yoga Vasishta. Yoga Vasishta is a similar work between Vasishta and Rama. There also there is Brahma Vidya given. Vasishta Maharishi gives Brahma Vidya to Rama. In the same way, here Agastya is actually giving him Brahma Vidya. Now, what is interesting, and as again, there's a recent conversation that I was having, is in Dwapara Yuga, in Kali Yuga, right now, in whatever time that we need words to explain something, and we need words to understand something. And not just words, we need elaborate words. We need elaborate compositions, we need elaborate prose, right? Elaborate theories and elaborate, we need that. That is because we've lost the sensitivity and the ability to read between words or understand the purpose of the words or understand the deeper meaning of words. We've slowly reduced that. Our intellects, our abilities, our sensitivities, our capabilities have come down. Which is why it is, whatever we say as Kali Yuga, is essentially depletion of some of our capabilities. It is a depletion of some of our capabilities to do things in a much more subtler way, in a much more refined way. We become more and more gross now. Now go to Dwapara Yuga. There were fewer words that were used to convey meaning. Like take the example of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita was 700 verses only. Dayanand Saraswati had to write 3,000 pages on it. 700 verses enga, 3,000 pages enga. Even Adi Shankara, Vishnu Sahasranamam, he takes Vishwam, Vishwasmai Namaha. He writes 35 pages on Vishwasmai Namaha. 35 pages in his commentary. So words are becoming more and more important to express an idea. Earlier, it used to be less and less words, and you still get the idea. You go back from Dwapara Yuga, go to Treta Yuga. Lesser words used. Right? Like for instance, Āditya Hṛdayam. Lesser words used. The words are having much more. Now, it's not delivered as Brahma Vidya. It is not delivered as Brahma Vidya. But then, because like in Bhagavad Gita, it is not delivered like Brahma Vidya. Bhagavad Gita, he has to say specifically, Vasamsi Jirnani Yatha Vihaya. He has to explain. But in Treta Yuga, probably that much explanation is not required. You give some pointers, they get it. And you go to Satya Yuga, maybe speech was even less. They didn't even speak. Dakshinamurti Madri. So you just remain in Maunam, and that knowledge was transmitted. So Mauna Vyakya Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam Yuvanam. Correct. So that is how the transmission would happen. But this is what I'm trying to say. These are pointers. You look at these as pointers, and when we look at them as pointers, and then we see what it means behind to us, and then you use these words for those as reminders. As a reminder. Dellame symbols now. Like the Sengol. Oh, familiar with the Sengol issue that's going on now. The symbol. So similarly, this is a symbol. These words are all symbols. Symbols for what? Something that it holds with it. If you go to Tantra, there are things called as Bija Aksharas. Bija Aksharas are essentially, in them, they hold the essence of some fundamental truths in the form of Bija, in the form of seed sounds, Bija Akshara. Sri Vidya Tantra you go, or any other Tantras that you go, this is how it is in there, in that form. Here, these words are seemingly in the outside, it may appear straightforward or this thing. But then we have to take that effort to go and try to understand what it could mean. So, worshipping the sun, worship the sun.
நான் படிச்சது ஜஸ்ட் ஷேர் பண்ணிக்கிறேன். நீங்க சொன்னீங்க இல்லையா அக்ஷரம், அந்த நம்ம டிஃபரன்ஸ் பிட்வீன் த லாங்குவேஜஸ். சம்ஸ்கிருதத்துல வந்து அந்த அர்த்தம் ஒரு வார்த்தை சொல்லும் போது there are vibrations. Again, there are good vibrations and bad vibrations. So I think there was a scientist who did a survey on water, how the molecules
crystallizes
with the right sound, the vibrations. அது வந்து எனக்கு தோணித்துன்னு வச்சுக்கோ. நம்ம அச்சுதாய நமகன் தண்ணியை கையில வச்சுன்னு சொல்றோம். That purifies it. எப்படி how அச்சுதாவோ அது மாதிரி purifies. அதே மாதிரி நம்ம என்னெல்லாம் மந்திரம் சொல்லி நம்ம உள்ள எடுத்துக்கிறோமோ அந்த water gets purified and the right vibrations. It goes inside. It again, what bad goes inside will come out as bad. So what goes in that really purifies us. And then it has got a very all these things have very good profound meaning.
Absolutely right. Correct. A very interesting point. And in fact, what you're doing while chanting is also not just for the psyche, because we are 66 to 70% water in our body. So you are, by ways of chanting, you are also crystallizing the water in your body to operate in the most effective and efficient way. So that is also happening within. So whenever there is chanting that is happening, whether you're listening to chants or chanting, the body, water in the body, because if you look at it, your mind is connected to the liquids in your body, which is why Manas is always connected to Chandrama. Chandrama is always connected to liquids because it has the tides, it impacts the tides. So Chandrama impacts the tides, Chandrama impacts us, which means there are tides in the body, in the liquids, and hence it impacts the mind. So the moment you get control over water, 65 to 70% of your physiological working, you've gotten control. So when you chant, you're also charging up, you're aligning the molecules in a certain way, right? Because it forms, which is why it's also called Samskrita, well formed. Right? Samskrita. So these, so let's look at each of this to just understand what it means here. It says, Rashmi Mantam, worship Puja Yasva, worship the sun, who's the source of all knowledge, the one who activates all beings into their activities, one who's worshipped by gods and asuras. Deva Asura Namaskritam, instigator of all actions and light of all lights and the Lord of all worlds. Okay, so he is now reminding Rama, Agastya is reminding Rama to say that this is the Surya Bhagavan of whose dynasty you belong to. He is the greatest of all. You invoke him within you, then Vijayashyasi, you will win everything. So Rashmi Mate Namaha. Om Rashmi Mate Namaha. So Rashmi Mate is responsible for, Rashmi is actually rays. Okay. But here, the way it is interpreted by commentators is that these rays are like the rays that are going from our body. In Vedanta, in Upanishads, there is one prakriya, not a prakriya, a comparison given. No, not in Vedanta. I think in Viveka Chudamani. There is a comparison given where Adi Shankara says, you, your soul, your Atma, you are a candle, and this body is a clay pot with holes in it. And when you keep a candle that you light and you put a clay pot and you see these holes, the light comes out through those holes. And these holes are like Indriyas. So the Rashmi, the rays that come out of you are coming out of these organs of. So you receive knowledge through the organs of perception, Jnanendriyas, and you give out action into the world through the Karmendriyas. So your interaction are through these holes. Right? The eyes, ears, nose, touch, skin, taste, and all that. So Rashmi Mate Namaha. So when you're saying Rashmi Mate, you are now going to that source of those rays, which is responsible for the Indriyas. So when you go look at the rays, where are the rays coming from? Because of that source. Surya is that source. So where is this light? Is this light only in the candle's flame? Or is it in the rays also? It is also in the rays, which means Surya Bhagavan is in himself self-effulgent, and he also lights up everything. That's how you see. In the same way, you are like we have these websites. If you notice some websites, they write, this is the website powered by something, right? They'll say powered by a company's name will be there. So what it means, so it's powered by somebody else, which means this is the facade, but the actual energy, the engine that's running behind is that particular company that's providing all the content, the data, the presentation, and all of that. So in the same way, we are all, this is the facade. The eyes, nose, mouth, hands, thinking, even the manas, even the buddhi, everything. We are powered by the true self, the Atma. Right? What we are is what is powering. So we are not this company that has hosted this website. We are the engine that is powering this whole thing. And எப்பவுமே powered by will be written very small. So in the same way, in terms of its presence, it's very humble, simple, hiding behind everything, even behind the Anandamaya Kosha, the Atma that we refer to, is so subtle. It's so subtle. It's hiding behind everything very silently. But that is the purpose and cause. That is the cause of everything that's happening here. Rashmimate Namaha. Samudyate Namaha. Now from here it is powering. Samudyate Namaha. Samudyantam activates, to activate all beings into action. Right? And all kind of beings means all the beings. There is no discrimination from the smallest earthworm to the greatest, the largest animal, the animal mammoth, or the dinosaur that existed, whatever, and human beings and asuras and rakshasas and devas and all that in between. This, everything is activated by this particular power or the source that is there, which is consciousness. In fact, even the non-living entities, even the Jadapurul, the Jadavastu, has consciousness because it has materialized. The only problem is Jadavastu cannot reflect consciousness. See, you go to a temple, what you see there is only stone. அந்த கல்லுல போய் தலையடிச்சுக்கிறதுக்கு எதுக்கு போறோம்? அந்த கல்லு எங்க வேணாலும் கிடைக்குமே. Why do we go to a temple to go hit our heads? Krishna, Rama, சொல்லி we do that. Because that stone has now transfigured into a life form. It's become potent. It is reflecting consciousness. That is why the stone which is outside, Karangal that is outside versus the Karangal that is inside the Garbhagraha has that difference. Right? So, this is important to know that divinizing or the consciousness is existing in everything, and this is the consciousness that is activating everything. Right? Even my good thoughts, my bad thoughts, which means my devas and my asuras. The devas within me and the deva asura namaskritam. The devas within me and the asuras within me are also activated by the same consciousness, because consciousness is not differentiating what you even end up doing. Like we say, the Surya Bhagavan is giving light to everybody here, to the evil and the wicked and the good people. One second. So, Surya Bhagavan does not discriminate anybody. Right? He gives the same thing. So, he activates anybody into action. Samudyate namaha. And at the same time, in the same way, this consciousness that we're talking about, it does not discriminate or it doesn't say that because you're studying Vedanta, I will shine within you. Oh, Mudha, you are not studying Vedanta, so I will not shine within you. No. Whether you study Vedanta or don't study Vedanta, it is always there. Whether you are aware of it or not aware of it, it is always there. Correct? Your being aware of it does not validate its existence. It is always there. Correct? Samudyate namaha. Devasura namaskritam. Devasura namaskritaya namaha. This is worshipped by all devas and asuras equally, because there's something that I've heard even young. The guy, the jeweler shop, the owner of a jewelry shop goes in the morning to Vinayaka, breaks 5 coconuts, and he says, my business should go well. There should be no untoward incident. Nobody should come and steal and take away anything or anything. You know, I should have a good business today. He does that in the morning. He goes away. A professional thief comes. He breaks 5 coconuts to the same Vinayaka. He says, I should have good business today. I should be able to get good value, and I should get value for the time that I'm spending. I go to one shop, I should be able to make good money. Show me. What Bhagavan will do. So that way, the Devasura Namaskritam, both of them come and propitiate in the same way. We also worship, a lot of people go and also abuse gods, but the deities, they go and abuse. You've ruined my life. What have you done? What did I do? I didn't do anything wrong. I've always been devoted to you. Why did you have to give me so much suffering, pain? They also abuse. Doesn't matter. அதனால்தான் நம்மளதுல ஒருத்தனை ஜடம் மாதிரி உட்காண்டிருந்தா கூட பரபிரம்ம மாதிரி உட்காண்டிருக்கேன்னு சொல்லுவா. பரபிரம்ம மாதிரி உட்காண்டிருக்கேங்கிறது, it is actually a blessing, but we take it as a scolding. It's actually a blessing. So what it means to say is, of course, it doesn't mean that we become insensitive. Point is here, we don't become overly associated with things, objects. We don't become overly associated with objects, with things, with feelings, with emotions. It's all there. All this package is there. We don't get overly associated. So Devasura Namaskritam, as this individual, which is why those who are familiar with this, if you go to a sannyasi, you are not supposed to. So in the Brahmin household, when you're done, Upanayanam is done, the Punal is given, you're also taught Abhivadaye. Abhivadaye is a tradition in which you introduce yourself. It starts from with Gotra you belong to, with Sutra you belong to, with Dharma Sutra you belong to, who's all that, right? So your lineage you explain, and then you say Aham Asmi Bho, right? You say this, this is who I am. But when you go to a sannyasi, you're not supposed to do Abhivadaye, because you are not supposed to identify yourself as I am so and so from this lineage, from this Gotra, from this Rishi, from this Muni, and all of that, because you are introducing some kind of bias into the sannyasi. Why are you saying all this? So that, oh, Bharadwaja Gotratliyo. முடிஞ்சது. ஓ, நீங்களும் பாரதோஜ கோத்திரமோ அப்படின்னு சன்னியாசி சொன்னார்னா முடிஞ்சது. என்ன கோத்திரம், என்ன சூத்திரம்? Sannyasi has left everything, renounced everything. So you should not discriminate or differentiate people. The only thing, whenever you go to a sannyasi or a renunciant, what you should feel is abhaya. Abhaya, fearlessness. Avalukulla bayam irukko illiyo, whether they carry fear in them or not, that is a different thing. That's their journey. But when somebody comes in their presence, they should not feel judged. They should not feel the fear of judgment or the fear of will I be, how will I be seen, all of that. You can be yourself. Like the way you go in front of the deity. Why do you think most of our temples have these side walls and all of these images that are put are naked? See, if somebody with somebody looks at it, they'll wonder, is that pornography? You're showing all naked women and naked men standing. What it means to show symbolically is that you are going naked in front of Devi, Bhagavan. You're not carrying any of this personality of yours. You're going naked. That is what it means to say. Even today in Kerala, all men have to take off the top shirts. You have to open up you have to go bare chested. So the point is, Devasura Namaskritam here means to say is he is worshipped by Deva and Asura alike. Why do they worship? Because he is impartial. Otherwise, they will not worship you. Right? And somebody coming and worshipping you means they are getting some results from you. The Asuras don't go say, oh, Devas are praying, so I will not pray. No. I am getting what I want because he is impartial. Vivasvantam, Vivasvate Namaha. Vivasvate means diffused light. There is another explanation for Vivasvantam or Vivaswan. There's another word, there's another meaning that comes out. We'll see that later. But Vivasvate Namaha is to diffused light, which means he is this light which is existing in all action. In the form of diffused light. Diffuses means what? Something that diffuses means what? Now suppose I take water and I put a drop of some medicine. What happens? That liquid, that one drop of that medicine diffuses into the water. And now you can't differentiate between the two. Right? You take salt and you put it into water. It mixes and it diffuses into, it becomes salty water. Right? You can't separate, of course. You can desalinate and take out salt. But the point is, it's now become a single homogeneous substance. So in that way, when Surya Bhagavan is giving this light, he diffuses in a way that you don't even know that he is there. It is his presence. See, that is the beauty. The way, again, a lesson how we should operate in people's lives is our presence should diffuse what you are into people's lives around you. You don't have to keep going and proclaiming, I am doing so much for you. I am the one, this thing for you. Why? Not required. You are having an impact on somebody, have that impact, let it diffuse in their lives, let them feel the bliss and joy of it. You don't have to go and make a proclamation of it. See, if you look at the whole thing, see, Surya Bhagavan wants to proclaim that because of me, this whole solar system is there. Correct? If he is going to go and proclaim, he is valid in doing so. See, this is the beauty. He is valid in proclaiming. But does he? He does not. Which means this is how we should live our lives. You do, you did, you move on. What we need to do is create that presence within so that wherever I go, people find their own benefit. Whatever benefit it is, I am not going to evaluate. Right? I am not going to evaluate. But I go, I make my presence, this whole process is about cleansing ourselves, purifying ourselves, making our mind, body, intellect, everything aligned and in tune with ourselves. This is the whole process of spiritual seeking. Once we do that, how it expresses on the outside, you leave it to divinity, you leave it to grace. Doesn't matter. Diffused light, Vivasvantam, Vivasvate Namaha, Bhaskara Yanamaha. This is a very popular name for Āditya Bhagavan. Tasya bhasa sarvam idam vibhati. Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam. Nema vidyuto bhati kutoyam agnihi. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. Tasya bhasa sarvam idam vibhati. It's a beautiful verse. In fact, if you can learn this verse, learn this, and whenever you're doing Aarti at home, chant this verse. It's a very, very profound verse. Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam. The Surya, na Chandra, none of them have their own light. All that light that is there is the light that is within me. That shining is the light that is shining from within me. Tasya bhasa sarvam idam. Idam vibhati. All that beautiful, brilliant, effulgent light is there because of this light. This is the Āditya. This is the Surya. This is the Bhaskara. This is the Bhaskara. All we are doing in the process is we are trying to connect this Bhaskara with that Bhaskara. This Bhaskara, you connect with that Bhaskara. Whenever that Bhaskara rises, this Bhaskara will rise. Bhuvaneshwaraya Namaha. Bhaskaram Bhuvaneshwaram. Bhuvaneshwaraya Namaha is he is one who illuminates the whole world, the whole creation. Bhuvaneshwaram. If you just break the word as it is Bhuvanattin Ishwaran. Bhuvanattin Ishwaran, Lord of the Isha of the Bhuvana. Isha of the Bhuvana doesn't necessarily mean Bhuloka. Bhuvana means material, created, manifest universe. Whatever, and what is also in the manifest universe is me, my body, my thoughts, my intellect, my emotions, my energy, all of that. That is also part of the Bhuvanam. Okay. Process, I will keep doing this time and again. We will try to turn our attention back into ourselves only. Inside is the only way out. I heard this saying. If you want to escape this, I want to escape the samsara. If you've had enough of repetitive nonsense going on, if you're burdened with so much of repetition of the same thing happening over and over again, and you feel this, because for lifetimes we have had this going on and on and on. Just in one lifetime, we will not get this. There is a beautiful saying by Buddha in Sanskritam. I'll look up and I'll share that. He says, if death was not there, if disease was not there, if pain was not there, if difficulties or struggles were not there, why would I not want to indulge in this world? Why would I not want to indulge? It's so beautiful. It is so pleasing to the senses. It is so joyful. Why will I not indulge? Because there is death, because there is cyclical patterns of suffering, because there is disease, because you see temporariness in things, then you think that maybe this is not it all, there is something else. And then you go in that direction. Correct? So this is important. So when we say Bhuvaneshwaram, we are saying anything that is manifest is manifest. It is a manifestation of Āditya. Aditya's, so very interesting to see it this way. Āditya is Surya Bhagavan. Āditya's Hṛdayam is here. So Āditya Hṛdayam is here. See, more and more we read through this. Whenever we read through this next time, let us try to bring our minds into our hearts. Our minds into our hearts, and let's not stand and look at Āditya there and do. That's beautiful. But let's develop the ability to close our eyes and see Āditya here, Surya Bhagavan here, and he is shining bright here. And from here, he is illuminating the whole world from here. We keep saying that, we keep saying that, we keep saying that, we keep saying that. Somewhere it will arise. Somewhere that knowledge will come. Somewhere it will really become a living experience, like great masters and gurus. So this is the nama that we saw today. It is Rashmi Mantam Samudyantam Devasura Namaskritam Pujayasva Vivasvantam Bhaskaram Bhuvaneshwaram. Rashmi Mate Namaha. Om Rashmi Mate Namaha. Om Samudyate Namaha. Om Devasura Namaskritaya Namaha. Om Vivasvate Namaha. Om Bhaskaraya Namaha. Om Bhuvaneshwaraya Namaha. Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyerva Buddhyatmana Va Prakrite Svabhavat Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayana-yeti Samarpayami Sadashiva-yeti Samarpayami Jagadambika-yeti Samarpayami Sadgurunatha-yeti Samarpayami Hari Om Tat Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Whenever we feel heat rising in our body in some form, also think of Āditya, because it's Surya Bhagavan in the form of heat, in the form of fire, is operating within us, Agni.